Arizona Science is supported by Research Corporation for Science Advancement.
For AZPM, I'm Leslie Tolbert, Regents Professor Emerita in Neuroscience at the University of Arizona, and this is Arizona Science. Today we'll talk with Theodore Ted Glattke, retired professor of speech and hearing sciences, who's now serving as a clinical audiologist in Los Alamos, Mexico. Ted's a much-honored scholar and teacher of communication sciences, a leader in his field, and now he's carrying his enormous clinical expertise into a community he has long-standing ties with in Mexico. Thanks so much for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Let's start with some background. You are the quintessential clinician scientist, a leading clinical audiologist who always has also pushed the frontiers of science in your profession, and you were a very inspiring professor of speech and hearing sciences at the UA for over 30 years. How would you describe the major focus of your research career?
Well, it's been my good fortune to be in the room at the right time, I think. My career began about 60 years ago. I got to Stanford as a postdoctoral fellow, and at that time we were an early group working on cochlear implants as a way of addressing hearing loss and deafness in, at that time, adults only. Then we were in the front leading edge of studying brain-evoked potentials as a way of assessing hearing in newborns.
You've been working especially with underserved populations. When you were here in Tucson as your main base, you were working in communities around southern Arizona, and now you're working in Mexico. Tell us how you got drawn into this very exciting direction of taking the latest research out into the field to the people who really need to benefit.
Well, some of this work began in partnership with St. Andrew's Clinic in Nogales, Arizona. And once a month, the first Thursday of every month, volunteers came in and converted it to a multi-purpose clinic. One of the stories that we don't hear enough about is that the Border Patrol personnel would come on their own time at 4 a.m. to handwrite humanity passes for children who lived in Mexico to come to St. Andrew's Clinic for their care. And that was the first opportunity I had to bring some of the technology into a clinical environment and use it with individuals who I was not able to communicate with very well, but who I was able to evaluate and with translators eventually communicate well with their families.
And you've had to start from scratch. You're in communities often where there's no electricity, so
Yes.
You're harnessing solar power.
Yes.
How do you do this?
Virtually everything we have is battery powered in terms of the technology that we use.
So you're bringing modern technology to communities where there's no electricity to begin with and finding ways to go far beyond probably what people expect. Tell us how you're taking advantage of the most modern knowledge in your field of audiology.
Today, automated recordings and artificial intelligence running portable audiometers allow us to screen or completely evaluate virtually anyone for hearing problems. So we combine all of that technology with the little cameras that we have and the knowledge that we now have about what must be going on in the ear that's not working properly, or the auditory system that's not responding properly. And we can usually help people in some way.
Well, thank you, Ted, for sharing inspiring stories of your work in, quotes, retirement. You've hardly begun to retire. I don't think you'll ever stop inventing and serving, and you're a very inspiring model for all of us. It's been delightful to talk with you.
Thank you for the opportunity. My pleasure.
Dr. Theodore Glattke is a clinical audiologist and retired professor of speech and hearing sciences who's continuing his generous service at full tilt in retirement. You can listen to this and all Arizona Science conversations at azpm.org/Arizona Science. I'm Leslie Tolbert.
Thank you to Research Corporation for Science Advancement for their support of Arizona Science.